So the Monday Dharma talk, right? We're going to start off this week continuing on uncertainty. And the title of my talk is Uncertainty Supporting Refuge. So the U.S. election is a dominant feature, a dominant condition for this week. And though it's likely longer than this week, we really don't know how long it will be until we know who wins the election. I see it as a transition of leadership, and anytime leadership changes, it affects us in some way, no matter which way it goes. And I've really been looking for a refuge from the speculations, because it's not just so easy to don't watch the news or don't turn on the internet or don't listen to a podcast. It's really everywhere right now, social media, etc. And I've been looking for some refuge in the storm. So I turned to your voices. We have a section of your voices in our book. And I landed on this quote. Sometimes I'm the ocean. Sometimes I'm the wave. Sometimes I'm brutally tossed and tumbled in the shore break. Sometimes I find the protection and refuge of a safe harbor. Sometimes. It's another uncertainty word, isn't it? I appreciated rereading this and hearing the wisdom in it. That we're not just one thing. That dukkha is not dukkha, suffering, pain, tumultuousness is not always dominant. And that refuge is really possible in the midst of this. So I had the kind of question, not really like Carrie from Sex and the City, but kind of that kind of questioning, like something happens and you always throw a question out. I thought, is going for refuge something like building an inner bomb shelter? You don't always need it, but it's there when you do. But then I think about the times when refuge just isn't so accessible. So I go back to our book, and I'm paraphrasing here. And this is another paragraph about refuge. It says, going for refuge to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, which are also called three jewels, it makes a Buddhist. This commitment is often recited at the beginning of a practice period or a retreat. And we're not suggesting that you identify as a Buddhist, but instead contemplate the sanctuary of the community, of the teachings that are offered, and your own capacity to wake up. And we need refuge, especially in difficult times. So I heard something new when I reread that. And I heard an element of refuge being commitment, the commitment we make towards a refuge. We're seeking for it, going for it. It's something towards it rather than just a receptive something from dukkha-ish, being saved or being, having an out or an escape. Though sometimes it does feel like refuge finds us and kind of does take over our experience. It's a shelter, sanctuary, safe space. But commitment is adding a different flavor into the teaching of refuge. And on our websites, both Sati Sangha and Pine Street Sangha, we have a section. And sometimes you forget all the writing we've done and where it is and what it means and how do we pull it together. But I'm pulling this piece in because we talk about commitment in it. And it's in the agreements for participating in reflective meditation. And the title of the category we put it in is fidelity. So it's where our loyalty lies, where does our being true to something and a commitment to that, where does that lie? And we give three places. Self-honesty, being truthful to yourself. We talk about that a lot here. I feel like that's a tenet that most of us really do. It comes to mind easily when you think about our practice. But the second one is that we acknowledge that there may be resistance to practice and to self-care. And that was a good reminder for me this week that I may choose a little bit more, I don't want to say badly, but it's harder choices to make about what is self-care and what am I resisting as self-care. Doing some of the things that maybe I need to do to go for refuge, but I don't want to because I'm stressed or my mind's on other things. And resistance is really something to be listened to and taken seriously. And like reactiveness, there's something important in our resistance and something unknown yet. And that our practice really honors that and honors the getting to know the resistance better. But the third thing then in the list we have as keeping commitments to yourself and your development. And I thought about that. It's like that really does feel like, like a true north. Like, what are my commitments to my practice, to my development that leads to how I act with others? And what of those commitments will provide me some refuge this week? Like, I really want to look more closely at like this week because it's different, this time period now. What sustained me? What commitments sustain me? And it's maybe worthy of considering that we're heading into this consequential, election. The stakes are higher. So we might reprioritize certain commitments. We might reconsider which ones that we can actually show up for. I mean, some things we obviously have to do. We can't say, no, I'm not going to go to work this week. But maybe we could. I don't know. But the idea of looking at what activities during a time like this cause more stress, cause more striving, cause the possibility for more acting out or for really not being true to some of the commitments that you've made towards yourself, your practice, and your development. So I want to end with just the idea that we would be thinking about our commitments. If that is something that you take up in your meditation practice or start off with, just to really consider what you're going to do this week and how you're going to take care of yourself. So